7 o'clock, so I'll call the town board meeting for June 20th to order. We have the agenda before us tonight. First item is to approve the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item is to approve payment of bills. Is there a motion to approve payment of bills?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We have the June 6, 2016 minutes. Were there any corrections?
Supervisor Ruzick did call me with a couple of corrections, which we've integrated in with our minutes. We didn't, they were sort of, what would you call them, footnotes? Or one was a correction of a lack of a second, which you took care of.
Yes.
And the other was a footnote with a last name.
Yes, cosmetic, I'll call that.
Thank you.
So you got those
Yep.
into the record. I had one item and I forgot, I didn't bring it up earlier, but, and this is a minor one, but on page 6 of the packet, in the paragraph beginning with the planning commission reviewed, there's a couple of references in that paragraph to a 6-foot sign. And I believe we're really talking about a 6 square foot
yeah.
sign, right? So I think we should make that adjustment. With that, is there anything else? With that, is there a motion to approve the minutes for June 6th as corrected?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have 5 items tonight. Steve, would you read those, please?
Yes, consent agenda item 5A. Due to a conflict, reschedule the July 11th, 2016 Town Board meeting to Wednesday, July 6th, 2016 at 7 p.m. Item 5B, receive and approve the 10-year update of the Velamo Joint Powers Agreement and authorize execution by the town chair and town clerk. Item 5C, based on town engineer review and recommendation, and including his service from the, including his recommendations, conditions, approve XL Energy permit to provide a gas service from the existing gas main line north at Next Turn Building, extending service from the existing main line. Item 5D, based on town engineer review and recommendation, and including his recommendation conditions, approve XL Energy permit to replace electrical service lines on Margaret Street North and south of Park Avenue. The project will consist of underground work. Item 5E, receive the construction activity report. Make a
I had,
motion.
before we take action, there were couple of issues pointed out in the Velamo Joint Powers Agreement that we have in the packet regarding Velamo assessment abilities and voting responsibilities by members and directors. Chad, you reviewed that and you had some questions too, I believe, didn't you?
Yes, it depends on what the project is for. Now, if for the general budget of Velamo, that has to come back to the member governmental units for review and approval. So you have some say in that. And as I interpret the statute, when they talk about the annual budget, that'd be like maintenance items. However, if they have a capital improvement project, they don't have to come back to the members. They can actually approve it themselves and certify it directly to the auditor's office.
Are these issues that maybe we should take a little more time and review that and bring it back?
Well, I think you want to be comfortable with Velamo as to how they intend to proceed when they have a project coming
Okay.
through.
I guess I would suggest if the other board members agree, let's take that off of let's take item B off of the consent agenda, and let's put it on the exec board agenda and talk about those issues.
All right.
Is that agreeable?
Sure.
Okay.
So, with that, the consent agenda, I'd like to make a motion to approve items A, C, D, and E in our packet, and remove item B to the town exec meeting for more discussion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda with that one deletion is approved. First item under old business, 6A, it's regarding Ramsey County Election Services Joint Powers Agreement Amendment.
During the last town board meeting, the board received a report from Chad, the town attorney, with a recommendation that a particular section of the joint powers agreement be deleted. When the board asked if we had reviewed that deletion with Ramsey County, we answered that we hadn't. And so you took no action at that last town board meeting. Since then, we've had a chance to review that proposed deletion with Ramsey County Elections, and their responses on page 40 of your packet. Joe Mansky, he's basically the election supervisor, basically stated, Bill, we're okay with that approach. Go ahead and make the change to the amendment. And so the amendment that we're recommending you consider tonight would be as recommended by the town attorney.
Okay, so all the terms are as we last discussed them.
Yes.
All right, any questions from the board? So the action requested is to approve the joint powers agreement amendment with the correction proposed by the town attorney. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Not, those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. 6B under old business is an all-way stop sign request at Portland, Short, and Mallards Ponds Boulevard.
Yep, at the last town board meeting, the board received a letter from Kara and Robert Hampton, who are present tonight, regarding traffic concerns on Portland Avenue at Short Street. The board authorized me to forward that letter to Ramsey County Public Works engineering staff and to the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. Joe Lux, senior planner with Ramsey County Public Works, did respond in an email on page 47. In a paragraph, he basically explains his familiarity with Portland Avenue and that part of White Bear Township in Washington County, and that he's driven it. Actually, he's driven it for over 25 years, I guess he said. But basically, it boils down to, unless there's some circumstances that he is not aware of, he would not be installing an all-way stop at the intersection. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's basically what their position is. And since it's an intersection of two county state aid highways and a town street, they have the authority over traffic control, at least on Portland Avenue. The next step was to forward it to the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, both to the undersheriff and to the special traffic unit. And Mike Casey, who's basically the coordinator of the traffic unit, basically responded that he would take a look at it. His first response was, wow, a stop sign there? I don't know if I like that. But he did say he's going to work the area. And I don't know if Karen and Robert have seen him, but he's been there in the morning and in the afternoon. But he's continued to work it. He'll continue to work it. He basically said that he worked Portland Avenue north of Short Street to monitor what's going on there, and he said he didn't see that. He did not see much speeding or many violations, but Portland Avenue south of Short Street he did. And he did issue some citations, and he's going to continue to work it to try to figure out how he can influence a change in that pattern. He also, both he and the Ramsey County engineer are both familiar with that movement that you described from northbound Portland to eastbound County Road 7. And they're gonna work with, I think they're gonna work with the Washington County Sheriff's Department as well regarding particularly the speeds eastbound on 7. So that's about where we're at right now.
So there's a couple of comments here then. It's, as if we've identified and talked about, this really is a county responsibility. They have the authority to deal with it or not. The township does not have any of that. So all we can do tonight is receive the reports and the correspondence that we've gotten here. You certainly have every opportunity and every right to follow up with the county and the sheriff and the, who is it, the engineering department or public works for the county? You can follow up with them. And I personally, I guess I'd be curious to see if you get any additional response from them.
Would we be able to get, is there someone in particular who's familiar that would?
Well, okay, if you want to go on the record, you have to identify yourself and,
Is there somebody specific that we should be talking with? That's
In Public Works and their engineering staff or in the Sheriff's Department?
Sheriff's Department.
Oh, yes, Mike Casey, and if you would like, I think I offered him to contact you, but
Okay,
if you or Robert would prefer to be the contact, let me know.
yeah,
Would be you?
either one of us.
Okay.
He's home a lot when he's not working.
Okay.
Because he is a firefighter and he's on 24 hours a day. Then during the day, he's outside and sees a lot what goes on, so he's probably the best to,
okay. Okay,
We're affectionately calling it the Autobahn because it's, I mean, even if we put a speed bump, but we've thought about getting the little kid caution signs to put out if we thought it would do much good, but I can't say, I've seen the sheriff boat patrol, that's all I've seen go by the house, but I'm happy to hear that they're
Yeah.
making their presence known.
yeah.
okay,
So
Good.
thank you for taking care of that.
good, okay,
We'll take it from
Thank
here.
you.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, item 7A, and
Motion to receive?
we can do that at the end, or if you want to do it right now, we can. We'll receive it at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, item 7A, under new business, is a 7:10 public hearing, and it is 7:13. And that public hearing is regarding a hobby kennel license request at 1335 County Road H2.
Motion to waive?
Is there a motion to waive the public hearing notice?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And before we begin the public hearing, Tom, is this yours or Bill? Who wants
No,
this
it's
one?
mine. That'd be fun. Okay, the first of the 3 hobby kennel license hearings the board has tonight is for Thomas Olheiser. Is Thomas present? Nope. Okay, he resides at 1335 County Road H2 and has 3 dogs and would like to have a hobby kennel license. He's fulfilled all of the requirements for submittal and applying for a license for Mattia, Malia, and Malona. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Animal Control Officer visited the property and performed his inspection, and based on his inspection, recommends approval of the kennel license. Now, on this particular one, I don't think we got any feedback to introduce to the hearing tonight.
Okay,
We
so-
sent out notices to everybody within 350 feet and did not receive any feedback.
Okay. And the animal control officer reviewed the application, reviewed or inspected the site, and he approved or he is recommending approval of the request?
Yes, his report is on page 57. Recommends approval.
Okay, and the applicant is not here? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have one, and it really has to do with the certificate of vaccination. we're asked to approve a kennel license for one of the dogs that has expiring rabies certificate within 4 days from today. Nope, this one. Up here, it's
Yeah,
Matea.
yeah, this is
That
for
one's
Malia.
Malia.
Yeah.
And have they commented if they're, do we know, as it sits today, have they renewed that certificate? Because they gotta have a current one, and it concerns me that we're 4 days from it expiring, and we want current rabies.
We'll make sure that that information is provided before issuing the license.
Thank you.
Well, Bill, I thought we had a call into the receptionist
Yeah, is that what that note?
That's-
for Mattia.
No, that's for Malia. They have Matea,
Oh.
Malia, and Mulan. or
Oh,
something.
you know what? That I see.
Okay,
That one is the handwritten note at the bottom of page
okay,
66.
so we're still
That-
missing,
That's for Malia.
all right, so we are missing a certificate for Mattia.
Mattia has 4 days left, and that's what Supervisor Ruzick is pointing out. There's 4 days left before the certificate, a new rabies certificate is due.
Yeah, somebody needs to check the names here, because we have a picture of Malona. We have a reference in the rabies certificate for Mulan. And then we have a rabies certificate for Mattia, M-A-T-E-A-H, and we have a picture for Mattia, M-A-T-I-A-H. So it's a little confusing here. We need to make sure we know which dogs we're talking about. And then there is a Malia. So we need to get that straightened out.
But I would agree with Mr. Short that if we agree to go forward, I'm comfortable as long as they get the current certificate, if we decide to.
Okay.
Thank you. That sounds like reasonable.
Ed, anything on these?
No, just, no complaints, Bill, that you know?
No complaints.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board here?
Based on the fact that the animal control, Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, Animal Control agrees to it, looks like they have a fenced-in area that they're going to use for the dog, there's no complaints. And if we get the current rabies certificate going forward, and I'd make a motion to approve the kennel license.
You're talking about confirm the rabies certificates for all 3 dogs, just to make sure. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, those in favor of the motion to approve the request for the hobby kennel license at 1335 County Road H2 with the conditions, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's see. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 7B, and that's a 7:15 public hearing. And that's regarding a hobby kennel license request for 5646 Fisher Street. And is there a motion to waive the publication of the hearing notice?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Okay. Let me stop. Let me back up. I need the parliamentarian,
Oh, you didn't open up?
yeah, I need the parliamentarian's guidance here. We didn't open up the public hearing for that first hobby kennel license request.
I think you should go back and at least
All right,
reopen it.
okay, let's go back to 7A. Is there a motion
Motion to open the public hearing.
for agenda item 7A? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to open the public comment portion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, sorry about that. Is there anyone here that has a statement or a comment to make regarding the request for the hobby kennel license at 1335 County Road H2? Go Going once, twice, there are no comments. Is there a motion to close the public hearing of the portion of the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Let's try this again. It's now 7:20. The next item on the agenda is 7B, and that's regarding a hobby kennel license request for 5646 Fisher Street. Is there a motion, I'll ask again, is there a motion to waive the publication of hearing notice?
So moved again.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This one's yours also, Bill?
Tommy and Michelle Thompson. There they are. At 5646 Fisher Street are requesting approval of a hobby kennel license for 3 dogs. Their application is complete. Certificate of rabies have been provided. Licenses have been paid for, dog licenses. And Officer Lee, Animal Control Officer, has inspected the property. In his record, he identifies each of the 3 dogs and investigates the animals, water source, food, leashes, shelter condition, exercise space, and he provides the same review for all of the kennel licenses. And also investigates complaints. And he said while there have been no complaints at this residence, there was a dog versus dog at the Otter Lake Dog Park at one point in time earlier this year. But he still recommends approval of the kennel license.
Okay, any initial comments from the board? If not, is there a,
Oh, incidentally, there was in your supplement, it's the 2-page supplement that has just 2 pages to it. The second page is an email, pardon me, it's the
first page?
The first
page is for
is
5646
a resident
Fisher.
of Brandonwood Road.
Okay.
Called to state that they do not agree with the issuance of the license, as there are too many dogs running loose in the neighborhood already that leave messes. So it seems that the complaint is about dogs in general, as opposed to dogs at this address.
And the only other comment that we received was the email from Craig Meadows.
You probably have your eyes on it right now.
This is on page
Page
92.
92.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let me call for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to open the public comment portion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Yes, thank you for pointing out that's a much more extensive email.
Yeah,
And in there are 5 points raised by the writer. Some deal with other matters, but one deals specifically with a nuisance barker. That's complaint number 3.
okay. Well, yeah, I guess the way I read that, the items address concerns about, is there really enough space to fit 3 dogs into the yard? And there's a comment here that the residents currently own a dog that's a nuisance barker. And apparently it is a problem for this neighbor. And then there's a general comment about considering the quality of life for the dogs and in a kennel. So that's a judgment call, I guess, but. So with those written comments, is the owner's here? Yes. Would you like to make any comments, or?
Well, I'm not sure what the comments were. I
give 'em
couldn't
up
make
here.
out.
Okay, well, if you're prepared to address that, please come to the microphone, identify yourself and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Tommy Thompson. I am the owner of 5646 Fisher Street. We own 3 dogs. They are corgis. They're not big dogs. I assume that Mario got your pictures.
Yes.
Yes. 2
of them are under 20 pounds. The other one's maybe 27 soaking wet. So, I don't know what to comment about not having enough yard space. There's lots of room back there for the 3 dogs to run. And we do take them on walks. We take them to the dog park, whatever. So they're not lacking. They're in good shape. So as far as exercise and quality of life, I don't know what the comment was based on.
There were 5 comments that, they're in the packet, but of the 5, 1 deals directly with barking. The residents currently own a dog that is a nuisance barker. Last night, we listened to the dog bark for 15 minutes straight. This occurs on a daily basis during the summer months.
We can't hear what he's saying. Bill, could you use your mic, the mic working?
Well, actually, the mic is for our cable TV, so I'll sit more straight.
I'm sorry, yeah, we can't hear what's
Thanks. Yeah, the acoustics in this room are pretty darn good, but I need to speak up. All right, so the letter that was received by the town on June 16th had 5 concerns. The first and second, the first has to do with another residence in the neighborhood that has 3 dogs, and why aren't they applying for a kennel license? And that's an enforcement issue. The second.
Answer that one.
Well, yeah.
I haven't got any comment there.
No, that's not anything we expect you to answer. Second one is the yard is filled with garden and art objects. We do not believe that there's enough room for 3 dogs. But with the inspection the animal control officer made of the property, his recommendation is that even with those items, there's still plenty of room. The third has to do with nuisance barking, and that's fairly specific.
Yep.
The fourth is in the township, 2 dogs are allowed, then we should stick to the law and not allow any kennel licenses. And again, you're trying to comply with the ordinance as it is. And then fifth, the concern about quality of life. I think the writer didn't understand. We ended up choosing the word hobby kennel as meaning just having 3 dogs. It doesn't mean they're placed in a chain link run or anything. We mean kennel in terms of having 3 dogs, not in terms of actually building a concrete slab with a run on it. And that's a common misconception. If we can maybe we can come up with a better term than saying a 3-dog license.
I think that would be helpful, because I know I questioned when Mario, Officer Lee came out, I had the same question going, well, we're not breeding them. No, he says, no, that has nothing to do with the term.
Yeah.
So,
I think we can work on that. The town board is working on some refinements to that particular regulation now anyway.
good.
So it's basically the barking dog, I think, is the most one.
And we are working on that. We have purchased a bark collar for the 1 dog, and it has been lax on our part over the past month. It worked really well through the earlier part since, I don't know, Michelle, when did we buy it? February?
But it works really good, but I was petting him one day, just left it on him on the lowest setting. This I had no idea of, but I was petting him and my hand got wet and it was smelly. And here I took it off and he had a hole in his neck where that electrode was. I had no idea that could happen. So we scrubbed it, put Neosporin in it, wrapped it, and rather than that on Monday, got some antibiotics, and I had no idea that could happen. So we need to take it off every time he comes back in, I would think, rather than leave it on it, because I don't want that to happen again. That was nasty. I had no idea that those things could be that
Well, abrasive, yeah.
dangerous, yeah.
So
Anyhow, we are
for the
working on it.
benefit of the for the benefit of the TV viewers, the comment that we're getting from the owner is that they have a dog, anti-dog barking collar, but the collar causes injury to the dog. So there have been times when it's been taken off to help the dog heal. And there have been times when it's inadvertently left off when the dog goes out. Okay.
Correct.
So this is something that you're conscious of, okay,
Very much so. I mean, it bugs us too.
okay.
I mean, he's a sweet dog, but he
Barks a lot, okay. Okay,
For my benefit, item in the Mario's report alluded to or stated that there was a dog bite incident. Can you
They-
explain that a little bit?
They were involved in a dog attacking them at the dog park. At the time, there was a woman with a rescue pit bull. Finley, who's one of our 3 dogs, was chasing with a dog that it knew, and they chased and ran around. And while I was talking to a couple of other owners, all of a sudden I heard this scream, and it wasn't just a yip or something, it was like, "I'm gonna die, Dad, do something." I turned around, there was a pit bull, and, you know, they weren't wrestling, they weren't biting, whatever at that time. So I called Finley away, the pit bull followed him. I stepped away again, called Finley, the pit bull followed him. I finally picked up my dog, and the lady who owned the pit bull just went crazy and said, "You can't pick up your dog, it's just gonna incent my dog to bite him." It's like, you don't have control of your dog? So anyhow, we left. She reported, in fact, if you guys read the White Bear Press, I thought it was kind of funny. The sheriff's report was trio of corgis went crazy and started biting people and dogs. And yet my dogs didn't bite anybody as far as we know. And yet Finley was bitten. We do have, the officer did take photographs of that. And I don't know why. It's true, he was involved in that, but it was not, we were the attackee, not the attacker.
Bill, is there access to any kind of sheriff's department record that would shed some light on just what the actual occurrence was, what actually happened here?
I can check.
Bill, I think those are public records.
Yeah, it depends on what they wrote down.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it all depends on what they actually put in the report.
Yeah,
If you would
what
like
you're
a copy of
describing
my
is,
response, I
what you're
can-
describing is he said, she said. I'm just
No, I
wondering,
understand.
is there any document, any testimony, any written statements that we could have access to shed a little more light on what really happened? It's
I don't know that
3
there
dogs
was
bit this
any
dog,
other
no, this dog
witnesses.
bit that dog.
Yeah,
and
there
that's
were
all we
other
have.
witnesses, but I don't know that anybody took their
Okay.
statements.
All right. Okay, anything else that you'd like to add to your
No.
request? Okay, all right, thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience? Questions? And I'll ask the board members. Comments?
The comment, I'll make one more comment, and it's only from the email that we had on page 88. Bill, did you indicate, for my reference, is the complaint, that's not the right page. The guy that's complaining, or wrote that letter, and he's talking about a non-compliant animal at a different location. Are we going to refer that on for
Yes.
ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. And I have no questions on
Okay.
this one.
And Ed, anything?
Only, the board appreciates that the applicant is willing to buy a bark collar and address the problem. But you have to be aware that this permit is a possibility of revocation if it does continue and we get a lot of complaints on it, so. But we appreciate that you're trying to take care of the problem, so.
He was a puppy too, he's not even 2
Bill, can we request animal control to visit the Thompsons during the next few months and just get an update on the anti-barking collar success?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so is a motion in order here?
We're gonna close the public portion.
Is there a motion to close the public portion of the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second?
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Public portion of the hearing is closed. All right, what's the pleasure of the board here?
I'll move based on staff review and recommendations that we approve the request for the hobby kennel license at 5646 Fisher Street for a 2-year period through March 31st, 2018, subject to the following conditions listed on page 77 of our packet. I'll make a note here too, there's a wrong address at the bottom of this page. It says 56 there, but it is 5646.
Okay.
Ed, would you like to include directing staff to have
Yeah, just to have
animal
Mario
control?
take a swing through there at his convenience within the next 6 months or so.
All right, so what the board is adding to their action is an inspection on the performance of the dog collar. And one of the things that we hear frequently from folks is that they don't want to call 911 for a barking dog, no matter how big a nuisance it is. And we've got some, and there's not a problem. If it's a nuisance in the middle of the night, we encourage people to call. That's about the only way you're going to get anybody will get a quick response. However, there is a non-emergency number that the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department that could be called as well. And that's 767-0640. If anybody wants to know what that is in the future, they can call our office and find out what it is. So if somebody just wants to report something to Officer Mario Lee, our animal control officer, they can talk to him directly by leaving a message at that, and he'll call you back.
All right, motion's made and seconded, and motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving the request for the hobby kennel license at 5646 Fisher Street, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thanks, folks.
Item 7C on the agenda is a public hearing regarding a hobby kennel license request for 5715 Fisher Street.
I'll move to waive the reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Bill, this is yours.
All right, the applicants from 5715 Fisher, Jagger Zhang and Kazao Yang are present, are requesting a hobby kennel license for 3 dogs. They've completed the application. Licenses will be paid for upon approval. And they paid the fees. Officer Mario Lee has also completed his report. In his report, he inspects the property, talks to the owners, looks at the animals, checks the condition of the animals and the condition of the home and yard. And his report is similar in all 3, but he will note unique circumstances if it's warranted. And under exercise space at this particular resident, he states open grass front yard, 600 square feet, 2 dogs tethered via ground stakes, owner installing invisible fence in front yard. That is a significant investment, and I think is relevant to any hobby kennel license if it's going to actually be implemented. Officer Lee indicated that he has had no animal complaints other than a report of 3 unlicensed dogs, so that not only did they not have a kennel license, they didn't have dog licenses, so they have needed to come into compliance. And he has reports on all 3 dogs, and the town has received responses for tonight's public hearing. In the packet on page 121, there's a complaint and an objection to issuance of the hobby kennel license stating that the dogs are rarely leashed and run out into the street. We've got two that have no opposition, two nearby residents that have no opposition, and we received another one just within the last day or two, stating that they are opposed to the request as they are frequently off leash and are frequently in other neighbors' yards. So it seems like there's a pattern with the history of this particular residence in terms of the dogs being off leash.
Bill, any idea if Mario has an opinion on invisible fencing versus hard fence?
Never asked him. I think that if he mentions it, he must see that it's worth mentioning. That's just an assumption.
The problem with visible fencing in any yard is that it keeps primarily the dogs at bay that are there, but it doesn't necessarily keep other people or pets out of the yard.
Well, and sometimes too, the idea of no fence, that dogs tend to bark more at people, especially front yards.
All right. Well, unless the board has any initial comments, any additional? All right. Is there a motion then to open the public portion of the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to open for public comment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The applicant is here. Would you like to make any statements or? Yes. Okay. Please identify yourself and your address.
My name is Jager Zhang. I'd like to comment on about my dogs being off the leash. My dogs are never off the leash and are never ever on the street. I have a neighbor named Butch who lives at the house across me, and I know that he has kids out. He always has his grandkids who are with him at all times. So I always make sure that my dogs are always on their leash, are always on their stakes, and never do my dogs bark. My dogs never bark. They never bark at other people. The only time they bark is when they see another dog. So I mean, that kind of just blew my mind that they said that my dog were on the streets when they're never on the streets.
So there's no physical fencing, it's?
No
they're-
physical
they're-
fencing, no.
They're on the leash or they're in the house?
Correct, and we do take our dogs out for walks too and everything. I brought my dogs in for exams and they're in great shape, joints are good. I mean, I'm a soccer player, I go jogging with my dogs constantly, so I always make sure that my dogs are in good shape, they always eat right, they don't, none of that other extra stuff.
Okay.
What's the time frame for the invisible fencing?
The invisible fence, I'm getting estimates somewhere around August. Saving up my money right now, paying college student right now, so just saving up money. I'm getting a recommendation from my former coworker that I used to work with, and hopefully I'm looking to get a deal with him. So hopefully he comes around, hopefully around June. They should probably get installed by August. I mean, later on in June.
I'm Kajoya, I'm the owner and the mother. I don't understand why we need invisible fencing when other neighbors don't have invisible fencing. I would rather put up a 6 feet regular fence, because I'm a single mother. I've been for 14 years. So if the neighbors want a fence, I'll build a 6 feet fence to protect us from the neighbors. But I'm not gonna invest money in a invisible fence for my 3 little dogs that are safe, that are good, and they're not a nuisance to anybody.
No, you're at, no, I'm sorry, you are who again? At what address?
I'm the
So
mother,
you're
I'm
at the same
owner of the
address?
house.
Okay, okay, all right.
So like I said, I would love to, I definitely would abide by the ordinance of the city. I respect that, but I don't see why I need to spend money to build a visible fence that costs money when I probably could build a cheaper fence if it's wood, and that's okay
well,
with the city.
Since I'm the one that asked the question, I'll finish where I was going with this. There are other options besides invisible fencing, and you brought it up that it's expensive. And you're talking front yard, I believe, invisible fencing, and I assume there's a backyard.
Yes, there is.
Correct.
And were you, I didn't catch your name, but are you
Kishua.
talking? Because are you talking fencing in the backyard or the front yard? What were you talking?
I could do the front, I could do either way. I mean, if whatever the city ordinance says, I'm willing to follow the rules and regulations. If it's just to put, the only neighbors that see our dogs are the neighbors that are to our right. The neighbors to our left also has 2 dogs, and they don't seem to complain. So it's the neighbors to the right that are the ones that doesn't seem to like us or our dogs very much. So if we need to put a private fence to keep us away from them and out of respect for our privacy, I would definitely do that.
Is that something you've looked into, or?
No, I have
Okay.
not. I wanted
Not
to
yet. Okay.
come here first. Like I said, we've been there for 14 years. We're good neighbors. We pay our taxes. We don't hurt anybody. And it's always been me and my 2 boys. So, like I said, now that we just start having dogs, since they're in college, they can take care of it now. I'm allowing them to have dogs, and since they have dogs, now we're having this issue with our neighbors. So, if it needs that we need to build a fence to protect, ourselves from our neighbors or our dogs from our neighbors, I'm willing to follow that, whatever the town board suggests is best for us to do.
What I'm hearing anyway, it sounds like you're making a commitment to install some kind of a barrier. Jaguar, you had said you're planning on and will install an invisible fence. You're saying
I mean, if there's other different routes to.
a hard fence would be cheaper, and you'd be willing to do that.
Right, because he's in college, he's a college student, he lives with his mom, so he's talking like he can afford it, but I'm assuming as the mother and owner of the house, I would have to do it. He loves his dog, so he'll do anything to keep it, but he's in college, I'm paying for his college out of my own pocket, so if he's gonna do it, of course I love his dogs and I love him, so I'll do whatever it takes to have him keep his dogs. But I would rather go the cheaper route so that I can afford it.
Okay, and backyard is fine with you?
Oh, the backyard is fine, because our backyard is 6 acres of wet land, it's safe. The only things that there might be ticks, they might run into the wetland, but if we get a good estimate, we can do it. We wouldn't mind putting up the fence so we can keep our dogs. Actually, 2 of our dogs are rescue dogs that we rescued from other people that couldn't have them. They kept them in the kennels for 10 hours a day, and they were just 6 to 5-month-old puppies, so we rescued the other 2 extra dogs.
And Parker and Watson, if you guys look at the pictures, Watson and Parker, they're the schnoodles. They weigh no more, they don't even weigh over 20 pounds. Parker's 16, Watson's probably 18 pounds. The biggest dog that we have is Mocha, who's our Staffordshire Pit Bull. About yay big, not even above my knee, about 43 pounds. That's our biggest dog. They're all lap dogs. I mean, they're not dangerous at all. I mean, our neighbor who has a new puppy brings his puppy over to play with our dogs, and along perfectly just fine.
Okay. Okay, any other question for the?
Not at this point, but depending on commentary, I might ask you to come back up, I guess, for
Okay.
other questions.
All right, thank you. All right, let me ask, is there anyone else here that want to address this issue, this application? Please identify yourself and your address.
Be glad to. I'm Scott Snyder. I live at 5739 Fisher Street. I'm the owner of Fisher Street. I'm not the owner of Fisher Street. I'm owner of 5739 Fisher Street. And I live 3 doors down, 3 doors north of the Zhang's. So I just made a couple of notes, and I was unaware of the other kennel license that was being approved, so it sort of tripped a comment for me. I was a little bit concerned just in the opening comments that there are currently no dog licenses on these dogs, and there's 3 of them at that residence. I wasn't aware of that. And there's currently no fencing in the yard. I saw Jagger the other day with one of the dogs on a leash. I'm aware that there are dogs at the property. I'm aware that there was a troubled dog 2 doors down from us. I know there's a dog that has a linked-in fence kitty corner from their house. There are 2 dogs next door to them. Now I've got another kennel license with 3 dogs down the street from me. I've got a dog park a block and a half from me that I know is very busy on a regular basis. So I'm a little concerned that with the number of dogs in the neighborhood. Most dogs, I will tell you, see they're on a leash and they are walking down the street, and the people have bags and they're picking up after their dogs. But certainly it raises some concerns in my eyes as an owner in the neighborhood. So not necessarily pointed at the Zhang's license, but it's an observation that I've made over the last half an hour that I've been sitting here. I have a question for all of you, which is, how many kennels are in my neighborhood? Seems to me if we're here with 2 kennel licenses on one night, are there a lot of other kennel licenses in my neighborhood? And maybe that's my ignorance for not having paid more attention to the board notes, but I have a dog park now and I'm hearing 2 licenses. I see lots of dogs. I'm not necessarily interested in having a lot of dogs in my neighborhood, especially when we have had troubles in the past. I've had dogs in my yard off leash.
All these licenses come due pretty, at about the same time. So if,
Yeah.
I believe that if there's only 2 that are in this area, they would be either on tonight or, what, we had 3 weeks ago?
Well, to answer, Scott.
Sure.
So far, the town has issued 7 kennel licenses last month and are considering 3 tonight, so it'd be 10
Okay.
in the township. And there's about 4,200 homes in the township. You just happen to have a couple. It's
I happened
not
to get
this-
here on the wrong
it's not
night.
that- yeah,
Okay.
It's not this way across the township. It just happened to be this way here tonight.
Yeah, we're one of the very few communities that even allow 3 dogs, and we can try to control that
Yeah.
with a kennel license.
Okay, so I appreciate that. I wasn't aware of that, so thank you. With regards to fencing, just a little concern as a homeowner. I'm trying to think up and down Fisher Street. I don't believe we have any fencing on my block in the front of the yards of any of the houses. I know there is a number of the houses that have it in the backyard, some chain link, some wood. I live on the same side of the street as the Zhongs. We do have the wetland behind us. So I'm not quite sure, you'd have to put a fence in there, otherwise the dogs could go into the wetland. So it'd have to be certainly on 3 sides and protected. That, I'm not sure what sort of issues that would raise, putting a fence in, whether it be heaving, or it might get expensive because you'd have to drop those posts and they're fairly deep, so the fence didn't heave, over the course of the winter. So I would raise that as well as part of a question. I presume fencing would have to be in the backyard?
We allow fencing in the front yard if it's 4 feet, I believe. You can't have a 6-foot fence in the front yard.
Okay, so I would ask in this situation, just from my property value, that it be put in the backyard, not allowed to be in the front yard. I think those are my initial comments, sort of listening to the conversation.
Okay.
I have a question specifically for you, as it relates to these people. You have anything specific, observations of the behavior of their pets?
I don't have anything specific in observation of the behavior of their pets. I guess I didn't know until a few days ago when I received notice that they had more than 1 dog, because I saw you out front with the dog. I would have some concern. I will tell you, any dog that's on we owned dogs when we were kids, on a post in the front yard throughout the course of the day. That to me, especially if, if there's nobody home, off at work or off at college, that would concern me. Certainly, we have a lot of dog traffic up and down our street. And even the dog that's on the LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn, help me.
Chain link fence, you're trying to say.
No, not the chain link fence, the invisible fence. That dog will bark periodically even on that fence. But, as somebody said, there's no reason that any dog walking down the street couldn't run into the yard. That would be a problem, especially during the middle of the day. So I'd be pretty concerned about an invisible fence, in that situation.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments? I'll get you next.
Mike Davis, 5684 Fisher Street. The comment of the dog's always on the leash, and I'd have to say that's not always true because they have been out, they've been in the street, they've been in the neighbor's yard, they need to be cleaned up after. There is a concern about that. I myself was a pet owner or a dog owner. I'm looking to be again, but we have a lot of new little kids in the neighborhood. Pit bulls got a bad reputation. I love pit bulls, but I don't trust them. And as far as this walking all the time and everything, I've not seen it, and I'm basically retired. I'm around during the day a lot. They do bark occasionally. I'm 4 or 5 doors down, so it really isn't a big deal, but it is a nuisance. and cleaning up after, you know, all these dogs. And yeah, the dog park, we get escapee dogs in the neighborhood all the time. You know, they come running through there and everything. It's like crazy. So we do have an overabundance of dogs. So this, if you're gonna put a fence in the backyard, I guess we could probably live with that, but I don't see a fence in the front yard. That just takes away too much from the neighborhood, I think. So I guess I'm opposed to it.
Opposed to the application or the
Yes,
front
the
yard
application.
fence?
Yeah, the dogs have no licenses now, never had licenses.
That's gotta be
Do we know that
fixed.
they're vet checked or up to date on shots or anything? No.
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
updated at every single
facility
when the dog is vaccinated.
Yeah,
We have
to
that.
report to the board,
Pardon me?
to report with their application. They did give us rabies vaccine.
Okay, that's fine. You know, but these are things that we don't know about yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but, okay,
Okay,
good?
all right, thank you. Okay, you're next.
So my name's Amelia Kuma. I live with Jagger, my boyfriend, and we have our 3 dogs, of course. So someone made a comment about us going away to college and everything. Well, we just go to Century, so we don't go away to college. We come home every single day. We are with our dogs every single day. We don't go to somewhere out of state, so someone else is taking care of our dogs. We are always taking care of our dogs year round. And as well as a fence in the front yard, it is our house. It wouldn't look the prettiest, but it is our house. We can put a fence in the front if it is approved. But as well as that, there's also something else I was gonna say, but I forgot it, so never mind. That's the end of my spiel, so.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
So it just kind of concerned me how if he was, gentleman here was 5 houses down. My dogs, I don't know when the last time they were, like I said, in the streets. They're always on the kennel. And about the dogs being unlicensed, I was not aware of in the township that if you had two or more dogs, that they had to be licensed until I got that pink service notice from Officer Mario. Called him the exact same day when he left that at like 2:47 p.m. in the afternoon. He's like, yeah, I just want to let you know that if you had 2 or 3 or more dogs that they need to have a license. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of funny because I had 3 dogs last year too, and no one made a complaint. I didn't even know that. Next thing you know, come back home from after soccer and I see a post-it note on my door. And I was like, oh, well, that's brand new to me. Well, you know what? Let's get it taken care of. And that's why I'm here. If I was aware of that last year or 2 years before, definitely I would have applied for a license for my dog. But this was all brand new to me this year. So learning all this is definitely something new to me.
And as well, our dogs are not like 5 years old, 6 years old, and they weren't in the neighborhood for 6 years. So of course, if we would have known we would have needed a license, we would have came and got one. But our dogs are, I think our oldest one is 3 years old, and we've just lived in the neighborhood for years now. So we had no idea. And it's not like they're 5 years old. They've been living in the neighborhood with no license for 5 years. So they've lived with us for a year now.
I want to reply to that neighbor's comment. I don't think our dog has ever been as far as Liz or Scott's house at all. They've ever passed Steve's house. So I don't know how our little dogs have ever come to your yard and ever crossed your street or pooped in your garage or your yard. Our dog's never gone past Steve's house next door. So I don't think they were our dogs that ever come to your house. And the reason why we have the stakes in the front is because they're puppies. Mocha's only 6 months old. When he goes out, we put him on a stake so that they can stand so that she doesn't run into the street. That's the reason why we have the stakes there. But we don't leave them on the stakes for hours and hours and hours. So that's the reason why we kept them there, because they're only puppies. But like I said, if they were ever in your yard, I would appreciate you come and say, hey, neighbor, your dog isn't our yard, please pick up the poop. But our dogs never go past our driveway or past Steve's door. So I don't understand where our dogs.
4 or 5 houses down, our dog has never done that.
Right, and
For sure.
and if they were, like I said, we
Okay.
definitely will appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm just so appalled by all of this. Like I said, we've been there for 14 years, but we just started owning dogs, so we don't know what the rules are. But once we know, we are Americans, we will comply to. I work for the court system. I have lawyers and judge friends who told me to come here and talk to you guys and get everything done. So tell me what to do. I'll do it. I'm not saying that I'm not going to do it, but I just feel like I don't want to say this. I don't just because we're.
That's the reason
just
that we're
because-
here tonight.
Right, just because we're the only Asian family in this whole development for 14 years, I'm kind of shocked. Like, wow, it's interesting to me that instead of telling us, you know.
Come
this
knock
is-
on our door.
Yeah, this is how it's just, I know you guys are new here. Please, this is the system. As soon as Mario came, we jumped to the bandwagon and we got everything done. So if we do anything that is not following the rules, please let us know. As Americans, we want to do what's right. And we love dogs, so we want to keep these dogs. And we're willing to do whatever it takes, but not something that we can't afford.
Okay, appreciate your comments. Thank you. All right, are there any other comments? No more comments? Okay, then I will ask.
I'd like to say something, please. And I'll make it brief.
All right.
Because I know you're all on a time schedule. So I
All
came,
we ask is that we don't repeat or rehash old comments.
I won't,
okay?
and I'll be 30 seconds or less. How
Thank you.
about that? I came here tonight because I got this notice. Okay, I came as an interested owner in the township, okay? Didn't know exactly what was gonna happen. I happen to like the Zhongs. They're very, very nice people. My son grew up, you know, with their older son. But I'm concerned. And that's why I came tonight. I'm concerned as an owner of a property for 26 years in the township.
Yeah,
So
and-
that's my comment.
Okay,
for it.
thank you. And we certainly appreciate your coming, and that's one of the reasons why we have these hearings and why we provide the notifications, is to make sure that the neighbors are informed and know what's going on in their neighborhoods and what's going on around them. And we also hope to get feedback with these kind of notifications. So, all right. Is there a motion to close the public comment portion of the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of closing the public comment portion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. We have obviously some problems. One of the first problems to deal with is getting the dogs licensed. So that is one of our basic requirements. I'm hearing that the property owner is willing to install a fence in the backyard, and that's a common solution for people with these applications. The owners do have a yard enclosure of some kind. Usually it's in the backyard. So I would urge that that's the route you follow, is to plan on putting a fence in the backyard. As far as dogs loose in the neighborhood, as the town clerk said earlier, if there are dogs loose, I guess it's a common opinion that's probably a nuisance. I hate to put any more burden on neighbors than I have to, but don't hesitate to call the sheriff's department, to call the animal control officer. That's what we have him for. And he's under, paid through the contract that we have with the sheriff's department. So, it's not a matter of, gee whiz, I wish you would come out here and visit us when it's convenient for us. No, he's working for us, he's working for you, the neighbors, so call the sheriff's department, tell them that you need an animal control officer to follow up on an incident. Okay, any other comments from the board?
A couple more comments. Number one, I don't want there to be misunderstanding that it's not that you have 3 dogs that have to be licensed, it's that all dogs have to have licenses. I don't think the 3 is the number, okay? And number two, we gotta come to some understanding of a commitment on this fencing business, timeframes, in order for me to be comfortable with it. It's easy to say I'm gonna build it, but I need to know when. So we have to have some, we've had other kennel applications within that same area, and there was a commitment that they would have a fencing done by a certain date. And if not, it was going to be visited and maybe revoked. I think that was over on Normandale Court. So what's your time frame?
You know what, I actually wanted a fence, and I'm glad that this is happening, because I can build my fence in my backyard, so it's a blessing in disguise. I'm actually working in my backyard right now. I would say maybe, this is, I don't know, June, end of July or mid of August, they'll give us enough time to plan and before you start school, and we put a fence up, and you said 4 feet?
No,
Typical
that's-
cyclone fence is 4
No,
feet.
it's, I think we need a clarification.
Right,
We
and
have,
I will probably read the ordinance or have my attorney look into it, if it's, I prefer 6 feet, but if it's 4 feet.
no, in the, pardon me, in the rear yard, it can be 6 feet.
Oh, wonderful,
In the,
even better.
yes,
Yes, perfect.
It's the front yard that can only be 4 feet.
Okay, just the backyard, that'd be perfect. It'd be
Yes.
6 feet the backyard.
And then,
That's, yeah,
And
but
wood,
that's
right?
the maximum height.
yeah, you could
We're
have-
not saying it has to be 6 feet.
No.
But that's the
I
maximum
want
it
to be
has to be.
6 feet.
Then you can do it.
I want
You're
to be
set.
6 feet.
Okay.
Thank you.
And now to finish where I was going, you know, you have a view that your dogs stay on the property, which you are the owners and you have that right to do. Other people are questioning that. Where a fence takes some of that out of play as long as your dogs are in that arena and it's neighbors getting along with neighbors, you know. No one wants to be the bad neighbors and come and say, "Man, take care of your dog, blah, 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 blah." Reality is, it doesn't happen, but following through with the fencing is an important item. And then if there's barking issues as the other people had, dealing with those and going forward, so. So your commitment is by the end of July or
By the end
mid-August?
of July, we're definitely gonna build the fence.
I would suggest as part of your plan for that fence, contact our animal control officer and just review your plan with him to make sure that you're aware of his guidelines and his standards, you know. And we can get you that phone number if you don't have it.
It's under bridge.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Just one follow-up. I think you covered everything except for Scott. You made a good point that a lot of times you don't know people have 3 dogs because if they're house dogs, you don't see them. And part of the reason we do this, and it's part of the reason why we like to see it out, so people understand that if you have 3, you have to have the license. And all dogs have to be like, even if you have just 1. It's amazing how a lot of people just don't know that. And we've even had it on our news and views in the paper, but it's just, you know, if they're never outside, people just assume they don't need one. You need a dog license, so.
And to clarify, there are 2 dog licenses. This license for the dog itself, no matter how many you have, and the private kennel license, which is 3 dogs.
Correct. And 3 is a maximum. You can't have 4.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the board? What's the pleasure of the board on this one? It seems to me like we have an application. Now, let me just review for my benefit. We have the application for a 2-year kennel license for 3 dogs. But we have 3 dogs that have to have their license, have to have a license to start with. The property owner is willing to install a fence in the backyard, so we'll include that as I would suggest we include that as a condition. And I would suggest that we have the animal control officer inspect the site again. Review with the property owner the fence design proposed, and then have the animal control officer inspect the site after the fence is up to assure us that we have compliance. Okay, all right.
Can I ask a question on the licensing of the individual dogs? Can we put a date on when they have to be done by?
Sure.
I mean, the fence, I think we have a commitment that they will have a fence done by the end of July. And I think we have to have a date certain for all licensing of individual dogs.
Yeah, sorry, that was my question, Michael, yeah. I thought this was like applying for a dog license, so there's okay, so
Yeah.
obviously, so that's dog.
There are 2 licenses.
Yes.
Okay,
so there's dog licenses
okay.
and there's a kennel license.
Yeah, they're separate.
Yes. And I think those have to have a day certain when we want those done by, like,
We'll get that done
2
next
weeks.
week or within 2 days from now. Right away.
Well,
If you're willing to make the application, if you're willing to make the commitment to apply for the dog licenses by the end of this week, we'll make that part of the,
Yeah, we should do it tomorrow.
okay?
Perfect.
All right. actions suggested here. Is there a motion from the board?
I'll make a motion that we can approve this kennel license with the stipulation that individual dog licenses are completed within, you said 2 days, by the end of the week.
He gets paid on Friday. He's gonna pay for that.
Okay, by the end of this week. Secondly, that there is that the fence that we just talked about is done by the end of July. In the rear yard is what we're talking.
Right, in the backyard.
And third, that Mario come back and, what was the Mario part we were gonna do?
I would suggest have Mario review the fence plan and inspect the yard after the fence is installed.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's my motion.
And that goes along with the standard conditions as well. Okay, that's your motion?
Yes.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. If there's no further questions, those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion's granted.
Mr. Chair, I think it's important to note that this is exactly why the town board sends letters out, and I'm glad Scott pointed that out. The town board wants, and town staff wants you to feel comfortable expressing yourself. And it's our job to make sure you know you've been heard. And the township, the town board in particular, wants to continue to make sure that we can do our best. And that includes if there's some problems, that you're not afraid to call us or the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office with specifics, then we can deal more specifically. And it may be that you think sometimes it may not even be their dog, but at least we know if we get specifics, if it's somebody else's dog, we'll try to figure out where that dog's coming from. Or if it's their dog, we'll be able to describe it. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. All right, let's move on then. Under new business, the next item on the agenda is 7D, and that's regarding a sketch plan review for a self-storage facility in the Libel edition. Tom, that's yours?
That is mine, yes. Sketch plan review means they've not submitted a formal application, but they're interested in both the Planning Commission and the Town Board's input into what they're planning to, or what they'd like to construct on the property up here. Property is located, consists of 2 lots, Highway 61 right here, and then Libel Street is right here. Currently, there is a 2-unit or 2-building self-storage structures on this property right here. Now, this is in the Libel Edition Industrial Park. It's property that's zoned light industrial. Property next to it is vacant also. Applicants looked at that property because they'd like to build a complex. That one doesn't work out so well because of size, wetlands on the property. And so they've looked at the property on the corner, which is also being marketed for sale. This is a different zoning district, however. This is the B2, the general business zoning district, your typical retail zoning district. And we've got several zoning districts going on in this general neighborhood. So again, along 61 here, Benson's Airport, south of the property. B2 is right here, the Lake Animal Hospital, existing business that's been there for many years. The property itself right here is, at one time was the White Bear Machine property, currently being leased by Sailing Solutions. And north of there you have Holiday, Bald Eagle Quick Stop, and Chrysler Roofing. East side of there, the properties are zoned light industrial. So the concept that the applicants are here to talk about tonight is self-storage, and a bigger facility than what's there now, and one that would be on both B2 and I1 zoned property. Currently, I1 allows warehousing enclosed in a building. The town's B2 zoning district does not allow inside storage as part of the retail requirements. So what's being requested, or if they apply for a formal application, What would be requested would be either a zoning ordinance amendment to change the zoning or to change the uses permitted in the B2 zoning district. So this was reviewed by the Planning Commission in concept at their May meeting, and they discussed the options, whether they think something like this is fitting in this area. And the consensus was they think it will work, but the preference would be not to amend the zoning ordinance by changing the zoning, changing it to I-1. That would create a spot zone right here, which we want to avoid, but rather adding enclosed warehousing to the list of either permitted or conditional uses in both the B2 as it is in the I-1 zoning district. So that's the thought and what's being reviewed by the town here. Again, just an aerial photo of the property. You can see some of the things going on in the area there. You can see the existing 2 mini storage buildings on the property. There was a master plan that showed 2 additional buildings being built in this area here. That was not pursued by the current landowner. And then you can see some of the other uses. So the site itself, the concept plan would be to retain the existing 2 buildings, to construct on the corner a larger climate-controlled building, a little over 17,000 square feet in area, would have a little bit of retail and office portion right here, with the rest of it being inside, in this case, climate-controlled storage, and future buildings planned, 5 additional ones, all inside storage, but not climate-controlled, just be regular cold storage. Plans would be to access the site with a new access off of Libel Street. Currently, the access is right here. There would not be an access off of 61, which there currently is a driveway into the site. That could be closed as part of this proposal. Proposal to, and this is in concept, looking at stormwater treatment in locations here and here. The staff has some concerns with this location right here being an open water pond abutting the Benson Airport runway. Recommended to the developer, if they do pursue this, take a look at some type of alternative or relocate the pond so it's not next to the runway. The buildings themselves, 15-foot height maximum, concrete tip-up with some brick. This would be a cutaway view of several sides of the building right here. Windows, tip-up structure, concrete, as planned there. The total area planned for storage, 69,238 square feet. A couple of site amenities that I've asked the developers, again, if they do pursue this, to be wary of. Buffer to the south property, or property to the south right here. Fairly heavily wooded lot. Nice buffer from Highway 61 right here and also here. They would plan to remove the trees, at least a number of them, because they would like exposure to Highway 61. We would encourage to keep as many as possible to provide some buffering. They would also be required to submit a landscaping plan. Again, Planning Commission reviewed this in concept. The use is permitted in the I-1 zoning district, but would have to be added to the B2 zoning district. So that requires a zoning ordinance amendment. And the Planning Commission consensus, again, in summary, was they supported the project, but would prefer not to change the zoning district itself, but to add self-storage or another type of definition specific to this in the B2 zone. So again, concept review tonight. The applicants got Planning Commission input, and now they're looking for town board input. And if there's support, they will likely move forward with a formal application.
Tom, let me ask you, if we amend the list of uses allowed for this piece of property, currently is zone B2, then that allowed use would apply to any other property in the township that's in a B2 zone?
That is
zoning
correct.
district?
Yep, if we do add that.
So if we do that, it's more, if we do that, it's more really than just allowing warehousing in this site.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, So let me ask our planning commission liaison, why did the planning commission prefer that to rezoning it to industrial?
Because I think Tom touched on it, they were trying to focus to limit it to just storage, not warehouse, not some sort of production, it's just storage. So if it was amended with a use, the use would be just storage, not, so, and I think that if you look around, Tom, I don't know if there's any place else that would even work.
Well,
B2s are usually fairly small plats, and this is a big area.
they are, you could, I mean, there's, I think there's 3 vacant business zone properties in the town. I think they're all smaller. One exception was Schwing America owns some property north of their site that's zoned retail that's vacant. They are using a lot of space right now. That could be a potential.
Okay.
And of course, redevelopment of existing business zones.
And the other issue that you touched on was the landscaping.
Yes.
The landscaping plan, that's gonna be of some interest in the township, I would think.
Yeah, the libel edition.
Especially with the B2 properties around there that already have that benefit.
Yeah. When the libel edition was developed, the town adopted landscaping requirements for that specific development, and shortly thereafter, they adopted those regulations townwide. So it would be consistent in the landscaping materials, and it's based on size of the site or size of the buildings, what
Okay.
But it
quantities
was
are
also
required.
brought up at the planning commission that this is B2, that long-term, I guess we kind of thought maybe a restaurant or more of a business-oriented right on 61 there. So it had some impact by all of a sudden putting up a monster storage building right along there. But they do a nice job with it, making it look like it's an actual business versus a public storage, because it's got, windows and brick and, because it's a big,
And the commission,
that's a big building.
yeah, and the commission was satisfied with the initial design concepts?
There was some talk about a little bit of minor changes on it,
Okay.
but they were also concerned about, because, like I said, a lot of that wooded area is gonna go away, so we still wanna see some sort of landscaping to at least keep it from looking like just one big wall.
Okay. Tom, are the applicants here?
They are.
And can I ask if they have anything to add? Please identify yourself and your address, please.
Nate Hansen, 4350 Baker Road in Minnetonka. I'm the developer for this project. And really tonight, I'm here to ask you guys any questions that you may have and kind of give clarity on our project.
Did Tom pretty well cover the concept that you've put together then?
Yeah, for the most part, Tom did a good job of covering the concept. In general, this is just the concept of our project. There is still the landscaping plan that does need to get completed. One thing we've talked about is the buffering. It doesn't show it very well on this plan. What the next plan will do is we'll show the buffering of the buildings, at least in certain areas. As many people would know, frontage is important to us, but green space is also important to us, so it's kind of a balancing act, and we're gonna play with that and work with the city code or the township code to make sure that kind of all falls in line.
Okay, okay.
Nate, I don't remember if we talked about it at the planning commission, but you're doing it in phases.
Correct. Tom, if you want to put up that other plan, if you guys see the big building on, we'll say, the western side of the site, that's going to be phase 1, as well as the northern building of the site. The east-west building, that will also be considered phase 1 of the site. Our plan is to buffer the site initially right away. Get away all the scenes of storage doors, people moving in and out. We're gonna put up our glass building with the tilt up on Highway 61, as well as the east-west northern building is gonna be storage units just on the southern side. And on the northern side, that's just gonna be buffered looking towards the libel addition. At that point in time, we're gonna phase it with the north-south building starting on the west side and just kind of work our way in towards the 2 existing buildings.
What kind of time frame are you looking at for the total development?
Total development, 3 years. The first two buildings, again, phase one will say we'd love to break ground this year, be open by next year. The next buildings break ground next year, be open the next year, and then the following year.
So the very last phase is the building behind the existing ones?
The southern building, correct.
And when you talk buffering, what are you envisioning?
Well, specifically on the north side of the property and the east-west building, we'll call it again, that we're gonna buffer that to the point where you really can't see it. I mean, it's gonna just be natural landscape. In the winter, you'll see it because of how the foliage doesn't come through. But our visibility is really gonna be our front office space. Our climate control, that's the grab to our site. Self-storage is more retail than ever before because people don't go there to store stuff anymore. They go to there to pick up boxes or pick up locks or pick up tape or pick up moving materials. And so that's part of our business plan as well as, the nice frontage of our building. But, that's our advertisement there. The northern east-west building is just gonna be, brick or whatever material we choose on the back, whether it's tilt up or brick or some nicer class finish that just faces north towards Libel, and then we'll just buffer that with natural landscape.
Yeah, I think the landscaping and the buffering design are gonna be a very important, if not critical, component of the concept. And you might want to visit a couple of other sites around the township. Water Gremlin is obviously an industrial site, but they're putting quite an effort into their landscaping.
Maybe not today, because it's in work in progress, but yes.
Yeah.
It will be nicely landscaped.
Yeah, I'm not saying duplicate what they have in place right now. Their plan is just getting implemented. And even though it's an industrial site, when they're done with it, it's going to be an attractive industrial site. So township-wide, that's the kind of thing we're looking for. So.
And that's our goal. Our goal is to make this not look like an industrial building, more like a nice multi-tenant retail building. It's just storage on the inside. But we're gonna keep it up like a retail building. It's gonna be inviting, it's gonna be safe, it's gonna be lit, it's gonna be secure. And that's one of the reasons too why the buildings are kind of pushed up to the property lines like that, is we're gonna consider that our natural building fence as well. And it's just another security and safety issue for our site.
Okay. So Tom, the next step from here is to receive the plan and application for the planning commission to review?
That's correct, formal application with plans.
Tom, is Lake Animal Hospital seeing this?
No, I've not spoken to them at all. Rezoning will require public hearings, so they will be notified.
What about Benson Airport?
Same thing there, would be within the service area of public hearing mailed notice, so they'll get notice also.
So you're looking for just a consensus for us before you proceed?
We're looking for, would you guys support the project idea? The general consensus before we go back and start spending some real money on the project. One thing that Tom pointed out earlier is there is a vacant lot to the east of the subject property, or where the two current buildings are. That's where our initial thought lied on the property. Initially, Tom told us Libel Addition was graded back in the day, and since it was graded, wetlands have kind of started to creep in. Wetlands today, you can't really get rid of. They're there, they're natural habitat. So we don't want to destroy those wetlands. So the next step was, hey, if we want to be in White Bear Township, we love the township, we like everything we've seen so far, let's try to figure out a way to make it work here still. This lot to the east doesn't work for us, it's too wet, there's economies of scale for us. We really need to be that 55,000 square feet to make this project work. If we go to the eastern lot, it doesn't work for us, so we're thinking, hey, let's take a look at the vacant lot to the west and see if we can put something together.
Have you explored where you're gonna put that pond if it doesn't work right on 61?
That is more of an engineering question. We have not retained a civil engineer yet. I can see the engineer smiling a little bit, but yes, there will be some engineering work that is going to be
Well, it's
taken.
just, I hate to see that be a deal breaker, so instead of jumping forward now, it'd be nice to know if that's gonna make it work or not. But
We've had civil engineers look at our site and say, in concept, yes, it looks like it should work, but we haven't gone further enough to really dig into that.
But that's part of the, developing the planning process.
Part of it for us was to get through here tonight to make sure that we had town board approval or a concept approval to say, hey, you guys should give us your support if we kept the general consensus going forward before we went and retained a civil engineer and retained a wetland delineation and did geotechnical work and went and got watershed permits. We wanted to make sure that we felt a comfort level before spending a significant amount of time and money.
Okay. Well, I see a reasonably attractive project here, and we really can't take action on a specific item tonight, but, you know, I guess the opinion of the individual board members, if that carries any weight with, yeah, I guess, like I say, I would be favorably inclined to follow up on the next steps for this project. And like we just said, that would be to go ahead and start the development of a plan and application and review with the planning commission.
Okay.
I don't know, Ed, Steve?
Well, sitting through the planning commission review, I think it'd be an attractive project, but landscaping and shrubs and trees is gonna be a big part of this, so.
Yep.
Especially because eventually that airport's gonna go away, and who knows what's gonna go in there, and we're gonna wanna make that kind of a nice transition to whatever happens there.
Eventually, the airport may go away, but don't.
I heard it was like 20 years still.
Well, that's eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
2030.
But anyway, that would be my biggest concern. You know, like I said, it's really wooded, and I don't want to see it just totally get wiped out and then just have these big block buildings sitting there either. So it's a big part of your project.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I think that's a big piece for me is going for it. Conceptually, yeah, I think it's a good project. But that's why I asked the questions about your landscaping plans, because that is a big deal. I don't like the idea of cutting down every tree on Highway 61 either, so. But can work with it.
Great.
Okay.
Appreciate your guys' time.
So what we can do tonight is that we'll receive Tom's report. So that'll be on the record that we have received the report. We've talked to you. And that's up to you guys to proceed from there.
Fantastic. Thank you guys tonight.
Great. Thanks. All right, next item on the agenda. 7E, improvement 2016-1 at Pine Hill. And Jim, that's yours, right?
Yep. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have been working with North Oaks, Gary Eagles in the office through the subdivision development. We put together the plans and specifications for that activity. Those were received on Wednesday, the 15th. The bids came in very favorable. CW Hool was the lowest bidder at $792,751. This was significantly below what we had estimated the cost to be. We have been working with the contractor on permits, on everything already. They are looking forward to get going as quickly as possible with this project, which we've already set up a pre-construction meeting to be held following these steps going forward here. So we will fill you in more on that, but if the board is fine with these numbers, we would recommend authorizing the project to CW Hool for that amount. There are other components with the project that we are currently working on. There is some material shortage out there that we're already working with Gary Eagles and the contractor on. We'll probably be back dealing with that at a town board meeting soon. We're working with the county on the pedestrian crossings. So there's a lot of components that are in motion. Also with this project, we have a phase one, a deadline for getting the utilities and the first lift of pavement with the concrete curb and gutter in by September 2nd. So we want to, at this point, keep things moving. Everything seems that we will be able to have the time frame needed for this project with the activities of the home construction and the multiple pieces with it. The overall project will be completed this fall, and so we're looking at a couple components tonight for receiving those bids, awarding the contract to CW Hool, authorizing TKDA to perform those construction observations, inspections. We'll be doing the survey work, all the components dealing with the development itself. That is called out in the agenda item. So I think there's a lot of things in motion. Everything is coming together, but we are on a schedule that we need to keep moving forward here.
Okay. And North Oaks is comfortable with the bids?
Yes? No. That was quick. Gary Eagles, North Oaks Company.
That was one of the
yes.
more eloquent.
Short and sweet. We reviewed the numbers with Jim. We're very comfortable. We are familiar with the contractor. We have provided the cash bond to the city, so the money's at hand to do the project.
Okay, great, okay. So the action requested is to receive the bids and to award the contract to CW Hool. And CW Hool, we've worked with quite a bit in the past, so we're comfortable with their performance.
And then we'll also authorize us for the engineering on there. Other components that we'll be working with the township and the staff. Part of this project is the installation of water and water services to the north side of County Road H2. So we'll have components within this contract that we'll have to be working with all those individual property owners for those services. So there's going to be a lot of coordination going forward from this point.
Okay, for tonight, that's, I don't see that
For tonight, it's the three-
discussion covered on the agenda tonight, so.
For tonight, it's the receive the bids, award the contract, and authorize us to perform the services.
Okay, the services part's not on the agenda, so that's what I'm trying to find.
All right.
What-
it's- Okay, it's on, in the,
146.
So TKDA work for the amount of $7,400,
and the 149,400,
and the construction, surveying, and observation not to exceed 149,400.
correct.
Okay, so
So we'll be
that's- so
coming back
that's-
to you with any other components regarding the soils, but it'll just be, the project itself will be working with all those water services and the residents going forward. That's part of this. So,
But,
the
it's
part of the
part-
project is to provide services to those residents. There's just gonna be a lot of activity with the project that was bid in the coordination of that.
So, but there's 3 action items then? Okay.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I got that clear. So the third action item is on page 146. All right, any other questions from the board? Comments? If not, then what's the pleasure of the board here?
I'll make a motion to try and say this. Based on town engineer's review and recommendation, receive the bids for improvement 2016-1 and award the contract to the lowest bidder, which is C.W. Hool, Inc., in the bid amount of $792,751. Second part of that motion will be to authorize, payment to TKDA for $7,400 for site, for adjustments, so stated. And authorize TKDA will perform the cost of construction survey and observations in an amount not to exceed $149,400 as requested.
Okay.
Before I second it, Jim, it says the site material was short. It seems that, I don't know, I watched them roll that thing over. It looks like they had extra.
No, we're a little short in the street. The
Oh.
street profile we'll have to
Oh,
import
okay.
to complete the section.
All right, yeah, well,
We'll add that as an adjustment.
I thought
to
they
the-
just have steep driveways. All right, I'll second the motion.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All right. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is 7F, and again, this is yours, Jim. This is regarding the Berry Lane Detention Pond
Yes.
restoration.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, as part of the Township Stormwater Management Program, we have listed out projects to be done, performed based on staff inspections and resident items that have been brought to the township's attention. We have previously submitted the Berry Lane Detention Pond Restoration Project to the watershed as a cost share. That activity did receive funding of $31,300 through their cost share program. All those documents have been signed and approved through both Rice Creek Watershed District and the township. This is a 50-50 cost share split. It does include all the items regarding the restoration and the engineering for that process. It just has a maximum 50-50 split up to the dollar amount of $31,300. The overall total project costs of everything with the construction, the engineering, and the testing of the material is $73,700. So this is a project that the township needs to do. It is the cost that would be incurred for this project. We have just been able to come up with a cost share of $31,300 for this activity. So this is the most economical way to perform this activity for the township. Through the agreement with Rice Creek Watershed District, we have actually till December 31st of 2018 to complete all this activity. There will be coordination with the watershed going through the plans and specs, the bidding, the activity for this work. But we do want to get started on that. So tonight what we're requesting is an amount of $5,500 that is not to be exceeded for the preparation of those plans and specifications that will work with both staff and the watershed to prepare those. Then would come back to the township, to the board for acceptance and going out for bidding of the project.
Okay, and this is, like you say, we've been talking about this for some time now, so
Correct.
this is not a new project. Is there any comments from the board? Questions? So the action item is requesting authorization for TKDA to prepare the plans and specs.
So moved. for the amount of $5,500,
Not to exceed 5,000.
not, yeah, not to exceed, and the funds coming from the Stormwater Utility Fund.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to authorize preparation of plans and specs not to exceed $5,500, and this is for the Berry Lane Detention Pond restoration. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item on the agenda, 7G, SCADA.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the township, through their computer system and softwares, we use the Wonderware SCADA program for doing the sanitary sewer lift stations, the water service wells, the towers. All this is how we coordinate the system functioning itself. All that programming, computer setup has attained a portion where it does need to be updated for the system to work going forward here. So we are going to be asking for kind of 4 different areas of moving forward on this activity. They are new computers that will be purchased, new software that will be purchased. We'll have the integrator work putting this stuff together, and the specifications for the integrator, the bidding, and the installation of that activity. We do have the different components basically laid out at this point. We're looking at a maximum for the computers and the monitors with the programs capability of them for a maximum of $5,000. We already have received software upgrade quotes, and we're just shy of $12,000 with that. We're looking for the integrator specifications that will link all of this stuff together and provide the installation observation for TKDA at $6,500 not to exceed, and that actual integrator work putting all this stuff together we are estimating at $15,000. So when you add all those components up, we're looking at a total project of $38,500. What we're asking tonight is authorization to put those components together for the integrator for going out for the quotes of that activity. We will be back to you with those results. We'll be back to you with the computers and the monitor improvements. All this stuff has been worked through with the township staff and the town finance director, and this component, the funding for all these components would be through the capital equipment fund, which has been budgeted already.
It is in the 2016 budget.
Correct.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Being such a genius as I am on computers. No, really, I'm not. Is there any use to these things that you're upgrading, if you're changing them out?
I'm sorry,
I mean, for what we
Well, what you're-
have
Yeah,
currently.
you're upgrading, getting new computers and monitors.
What happens to the old
What happens to
stuff?
the old ones?
the old ones that you generally get recycled, just like
There's no use in the township for those of any
just
kind?
because the software that's on the hard drives is older software, and that's the reason we go
How
to
old is
Windows.
that equipment?
5 years?
Okay.
No. Yep. And typical replacement is on a 5-year basis for a SCADA, for the software that supports. Windows has made an upgrade, so in order for the Wonderware software to work, the new Wonderware, some of the issues we're having with our alarm system are related to the old Windows software.
Sure.
In order to upgrade, we need to go to the new Wonderware, and in order to go to the new Wonderware, we need the support of the new Microsoft Office also software. So it all kind of ties together.
Your computers need to be upgraded so they can operate the good
Yeah,
stuff that you
and
just
it's,
talked
you know, the
about.
technology changed, unfortunately, faster than we'd like
So
to
there's
see.
no reasonable use left of the computers after you've stripped off the stuff you're updating?
Because of the older software, yes, correct.
Okay. Any other questions? It's the pleasure of the board.
I'll move based on town engineer review and recommendations, authorize the town finance director, town public works director, and TKDA to perform the SCADA upgrades as described by the town engineer's correspondence in the estimated amount of $38,500, funding from the capital equipment fund.
Can we insert as identified in the 2016 budget?
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. If there's no further questions, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. I said aye, by the way, also. Next item, that motion passes, so the next item on the agenda is 7H. That's regarding Longville tennis courts. Dale, that's yours?
Yes. The tennis courts, the town board approved the demolition of the fencing and the asphalt surface this spring. T.A. Shifsky's and Sons with the low proposal that you approved. They did the work, they did removal work in late spring. They've been early May. And they did put the new surface down here the week of the 23rd, May 23rd. So it's been roughly almost 30 days now. And typically you wait 30 days to apply. What I'm asking for is a tennis court surfacing approval. And you generally wait 30 days after the new asphalt surface has been laid before you apply the new color coat surfacing. So I've got quotes from 3 different contractors. Court Surfaces and Repair Incorporated for $8,550. C&H Sport Surfaces for $8,750. And the Tennis Court Doctor for $11,280. We've worked with all 3 of these vendors before. The low proposal from Court Surfaces and Repair, in the ballpark, good estimate. They've done work for us, and done very satisfactorily. So we do have it identified in the 2016-2020 capital improvement budget for Longville Park. This is the tennis court replacement. We've spent $33,430 for the new asphalt court surface, along with the demolition that went with that. So now we're asking for the color coding to be added as part of the completion of the project. And the next item will be related to, and that'll be the replacement of the fencing. But the current action in my question is approval of the tennis court surfacing from Court Surfaces and Repair Incorporated for $8,550.
Okay. Any questions for Public Works regarding the tennis court surfacing at if we're at Longville?
No.
Okay, this is all part of the plan, so we're all well aware of this. So the action requested then is to approve the vendor to do that surfacing and the amount.
Correct.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion based on Public Work Director review and recommendation, approve the quote for the Longville Tennis Court surfacing from Court Surfaces and Repair, Inc. for $8,550 with funding from the Park and Recreation Fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If not, those in favor of approving the color coat surfacing for Longville Tennis Court, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item is also 7H, and that's Longville Tennis Courts to approve a fencing quote for
Yes, for the replace.
for the Longville Tennis Court.
Yes, as I stated earlier, that the fencing was all removed along with the asphalt surface, and all new asphalt surface and now new fencing will be installed too. So what I'm bringing to you here is the replacement of the existing of the tennis court fencing for the new court surface at Longville Park Tennis. We did get 2 quotes. One was received from Town and Country Fence for $14,700, and the other from Modern Fence for $20,200. And so and it's been in the, again, in the capital improvement plan for 2016-2020, identified for improvement. The expenses, as stated earlier, for the asphalt court surface was, replacement with the demolition was $3,430. And then we just approved the $8,500 for the surfacing, $8,550, I have $8,500. For the new tennis court surfacing, that leaves a total of $28,070 balance of the $70,000 designated for that fund for the tennis court replacement left. So the action request is approve the quote from Longville Park Tennis Court Fencing from Town and Country Fence for $14,700.
Okay, I got a question.
Sure.
As it existed before the fence was tore out, is there 1 gate or 2 on those?
We're only putting 1 gate in. There was 2, but the other one was serviced on the backside. Access was not. There's no reason to add the back gate.
No. Typically, the only reason I ask that is typically I know that most of them have had 2 gates in the past, because if someone hits the ball over the fence, they have to go all the way around to get it. That's why the second gate is there. It's not for street access, it's for accessibility for bad tennis players.
Yeah, and
But they get more exercise this way.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
I mean, personally, I have not seen any that have was one gate.
I can have the vendor.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I personally would like to table, I know we need to get going on it or how you want to do it, but I think you should really look at 2 gates.
Okay.
Sorry to.
Well, I can come back with a revised
table it to,
proposal.
I'd like to table it till the next meeting and get another quote.
Yep.
Can you get a response by then, by the next board meeting?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, let's, do we need a motion to table that? I guess we do.
You do.
Okay. So is
I'll make
that
a
your
motion to table it.
Okay, for a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to table the discussion regarding the fencing at Longville Tennis Courts. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. And we're tabling it to the next board meeting, Joan. Okay. All right, 7I on the agenda. That's a roll-up fire door replacement. Dale, that's yours?
Yes. Based on this recent inspection of our roll-up fire doors at the Public Works building, we have 3 of them. One of them is identified as a failed inspection. It's the original door that separates the old maintenance bay from the shop. Unfortunately, there was damage to the top housing and the bottom of the door. And because they're a sealed unit, they are a fire restricted unit, there's not an option to do partial replacement. So we're looking at full replacement. And we've received 3 quotes from the following vendors: Twin City Garage Door for $6,600, Northern Door for $5,995, excuse me, and Crawford Door Sales for $5,965. We feel that Crawford Door Sales will meet the needs of the town for the replacement. Public Works is requesting the replacement of the door. It would come out of the capital building maintenance fund. The funding would. The town board action has approved the purchase of the replacement fire door from Crawford Door Sales Company for $5,965.
Okay. All right, the only question I had, you already answered, so I was just curious if you could repair that kind of a door, but
Unfortunately,
you can't be done.
not an option.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
No.
Dale, is that door on an opener?
It does have electric open, not an automatic opener. You have to manually push the button, just like.
But that's not part of this price? The opener's okay?
I think the opener is part of the
Oh, all
price, part of the unit. Yep.
All right, I'll move based on Public Works Director review and recommendations that we approve the purchase of a replacement fire door from Crawford Door Sales Company. This is for the amount of $5,956 with the funding coming from the Capital Building Maintenance Fund.
That is an error, Ed, I think the actual price is $5,900, it's a typo, $5,965.
Yeah, you're right. So noted.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded to replace the fire door. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 7J, computer replacements. Bill, you gonna cover that?
Yep, there's a memo prepared by the town's finance officer on page 176 of the packet. In there, Tom Kelly indicates that the town has 5 computers that were purchased in 2010 that were scheduled for replacement in 2015, but were not replaced because of new website costs. There are also 2 computers that were purchased in 2011 that are scheduled for replacement this year. Staff recommends replacing all 7 of these computers and adding a second monitor to 6 of the 7 computers. Staff has worked with Roseville IT to coordinate the replacement of these computers, and Roseville IT has provided the town with a price quote of $8,242 to replace all 7 computers and to add a second monitor to 6 of the computers. It also includes the latest Microsoft Office software version. The town's 5-year capital improvement plan includes $7,500 for computers and $45,000 for software. So either of those sources of funds would be available for this purchase. A recommendation is to approve replacing the 7 computers and the 6 monitors. The particular stations are identified on the table on page 177 if you're interested.
And I see we got 6 years of life out of the existing computer, so that's pretty much the lifetime for this kind of equipment, so. Any questions from the board?
Bill, did the new upgrade to the website, was that software upgrade or not? And where did that come from? You said there's that part of that 45,000 for software upgrade.
I'd have to get back to you on that.
I stumped him.
See?
You and Bill.
Okay, you get a point for that one. Stump the bill.
But you'll get an answer. So
Yeah,
it's-
okay.
But in any event, even that software and this hardware replacement is gonna be below the total amount here that we had budgeted for those 2 projects. So anyway, Bill will find out for sure. All right, are there any other questions?
No.
What's the pleasure of the board on this one?
I'll make a motion based on the finance officer's review and recommendations, approve replacing 7 computers and adding a second monitor to 6 of the computers at a cost of $8,242 with funding from the Capital Equipment Fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to purchase new computers and software for administrative staff. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 7K is regarding the first August board meeting, moving the meeting date from August 1 to another date.
Recommendation is 2 days later, Wednesday, August 3rd.
And that works with Gem Lake?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
So we're moving it, you want to move it to the 3rd?
Yes,
Yes. It works for me.
that works. All right. Can we have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to move the August 1st town board meeting to same time on Wednesday, August 3rd at the same location.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. 7L on the agenda is temporary liquor license. Bill, that's yours?
Yep, there's been a second proposed, second annual Senior Citizens Night at the ballpark at Bowen Lakes Park. be held June 29th. In order for this to occur, the town would have to approve issuance of a temporary on-sale liquor license for Greater Mount Moriah Ministries, who will sponsor it at this ball game in Port Lakes Park. Recommendation were given two possible actions. The first, approve issuance of temporary on-sale liquor license to Greater Mount Moriah Ministries for the July 29th event at Port Lakes Park, waiving the $250 fee, subject to receipt of the application, related items, and certificate of insurance. Most items are in, not all. The applicants have promised to get us the certificate of insurance. I think it's the only missing ingredient, once approved by the board. The second option would be same action without waiving the fee. Last year, the town board waived the $250 fee.
And this is just, they're just serving beer, right?
Yes.
And basically, it's the same program that they had last year. And it was a nice program last year. They had a good turnout, and everybody enjoyed themselves. They sold a few cases of beer, I guess.
And they're hoping that the chairman of the town board might be willing to throw out the pitch.
I hurt my arm last year.
Maybe this is a question for the town attorney, but do we have to designate a time, an actual time during the day for this, or does it just cover the whole day?
It covers the whole day.
So it's,
So that makes a good question. Maybe you want to limit the license to a certain.
I don't know, I guess, I don't know if it's in,
Last year, you established 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
okay, it was just, seemed kinda odd that there was no times in here.
No, but I think you're right. It's presumed to be the whole, day, unless you establish, times in your resolution.
Good point. Any questions, Ed?
The other Ed? Well, I guess the question is, are we gonna talk about limiting it, or gonna go the whole day? Because the game starts at 7, so you can't start limited at 7, because,
Well, 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Good point.
That's my other question.
Okay.
I think it makes sense to limit, so we're not
No,
picking up a whole day's worth.
Yeah, I agree.
And are we going to 11 o'clock again? The question I have, it said we're not responsible for the cleanup afterwards. Last year, did we have any issues, Dale?
Not that I know of.
None that stuck out? Okay.
None that stuck out.
So the understanding is they clean up their own after their
Yeah.
own event? Okay.
Well, and if putting a time on it, are we gonna, do we need their input for that? I mean, we're running out of time here on June
This is it.
29th.
Yeah, this is it.
So, I mean, if we're gonna arbitrarily put a time on there, they're gonna have to deal with it.
Yep, that's it. That's right. I'm comfortable with that.
What, 6 to 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause the game should be over before 10, so. Plenty. 6 to 11?
Okay.
And I guess we're gonna talk about the fee, or which one we're gonna go with?
Yeah, well, and last year we waived the fee as well.
I think with the restrictions, I'm okay with waiving the fee.
Okay.
So it's option number 1?
Option 1.
And the only outstanding issue is we want to make sure we get that certificate of insurance to name the
If the
township.
board wants to indicate that it would not be approved without the certificate of insurance. So
You should
contingent
condition on insurance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
All right, I'll move to approve the issuance of a temporary on-sale liquor license to Greater Mount Moriah Ministries for June 29th from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. This is the event at Polo Lakes Park. We'll waive the $250 fee. Approval subject to the receipt of the applicant and related items and a certificate of insurance issuing White Township as a certificate holder.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 8 on the agenda is added agenda items. We have none. Item 9 is open time. Anyone here for open time? I don't see anybody. Item 10 is to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We're adjourned.